All right, thank you everybody. It is a pleasure to be here. This is the number that shocked me into action working within gender diversity. 0.1% of venture funding is what goes to female founder only teams. So the latest number that we have, and it's an absolutely abysmal and shocking number, and it's not much better than the Nordics. You could say it's 7 times better at 0.7%. But again, these numbers are absolutely tiny. And why do we want to care? Well, women start about 27% of all businesses in Denmark. And even though we don't have all the data, the data we do have suggests that women are about 12 to 14% of the deal flow for investment. So we can't just say the reason women don't get venture funding is because all they start is hairdressers, right? Because that's not true. And the same could be said for men. All men ever start are, one-person IT consulting companies, also not getting venture funding. And so even though we get very little, and they're in many of the rounds, they get much less than they should, right? And so what's the result of this? Well, I think we're missing out on a lot of very, very good companies. If we look at who gives the investments, right? We have all sorts of different kinds. They're from the universities, just slightly better on diversity to others. It's just depressing all around. So why is there this giant gender funding gap, right? You got to ask that question. So it's complex. So we try to illustrate it with simple tools, and we think there are ultimately two problems. Number one is that when we have a round peg, it doesn't seem to find the round hole, right? So even though we have female founders who are starting businesses that are well aligned with the investment model, they're not getting that funding. And I think it's because we can't see purple round pegs. The other model is that perhaps the idea of venture funding itself is a little bit outdated. Perhaps there are other ways to do funding for different kinds of companies. Now that's a big structural problem, and I don't think we can solve that here today, but we can definitely work on the one that's about why aren't we seeing the purple little squares. So we started with the science, and it's not that we don't know that females or women are underfunded. Oh boy, do we know, and we have a lot of data on it. And we looked at why is this, right? And essentially there are a couple of things. One of them is role models. I don't know how many women entrepreneurs you can mention. We recently had a big TV show in the Danish public broadcast system where they looked at truly important people in the Danish history. It was 25 men, right? So we aren't good at promoting role models. We've assembled now about 850 female founders across the Nordics that we can highlight, and that's a big part of this Unbiased project, is highlighting some of the very diverse women building all sorts of different companies. It's not just the same 10 women you tend to see in the media. There are many women building great companies around. That's one part. The other part is access to capital. What does access to capital mean? It means that you just can't get at the money. There's more venture investment, more startup investment than there's basically ever been, save for that crazy year 2021. But there's so much money out there, and women just can't seem to get their hands on it. And so why is that? Well, that comes back to this. Regulatory focus theory. So one of the best researchers in this field is Dana Kanzi. She's out of London School of Economics now. She used to be further west. And she did great research at TechCrunch Disrupt, one of the biggest startup competitions in the world, where they looked at why do some people get funding and others don't. Right, so this is a competition where everything's been vetted. You're not on that stage unless you are definitely ready for startup funding. You have a scalable company. Everything is great. You're aligned. We can control all the factors, and we know what is the one thing that remains, and it's your gender. Right, so regulatory focus theory is essentially an approach populated by Higgins back in 1997, who looked at that there are two approaches to life, right? We could call them the optimist and the pessimist, but that's not really true. What it is, it's two different approaches to life in general. One is promotion, and promotion is about being oriented towards positive outcomes, aspirations, hopes, dreams, all that sort of stuff. Behavior is guided by your aspirations. You think in terms of everything you can gain from a situation, and you take more risks and consider the rewards more than what could possibly go wrong. On the other side of that, we have prevention. Now, prevention is oriented towards avoiding negative outcomes. It's motivated by safety and security and responsibility, and it's focusing on what you might lose, right? And you're more risk averse and tend to be more cautious. Now, these things aren't good and bad. I do not want a promotion type risk secretary or chief legal officer in my company. I don't think that would be very good. On the other hand, I don't want my head of innovation to be super concerned with everything that could possibly go wrong. We wouldn't innovate very much. But it's just there's a difference in the result when you look at this. So if you look at promotion and prevention, what it turns out is that that comes out in the questions that get asked of a startup. We'll have two startups on stage here in a little bit, and they'll pitch, and we'll see some panelists ask questions. It turns out that the kind of questions you ask have a huge impact on the kind of answers you get and the kind of funding you raise. So, for instance, if you're talking about customers, a promotion question would be acquisitions. How fast can you get new customers? How do you get them? Where do you find them? If it's prevention, you say, how do you avoid losing customers? How are you going to protect your customer base? If it's market, promotion is size. How huge is your market? How fast can we grow? If it's prevention, it's about share. How can we protect your market share? How can we make sure you're not losing out? You know, income is about sales on one side, it's about margins on the others. Are you even making money on that? When it's projections, are we growing, or how can we be stable, right? There's not a lot of hockey stick and stable. And strategy is about your vision on one side. So it's like, you saw this AI startup raise at €1 billion valuation with nothing more than 4 pages, right? That was definitely a promotion mindset. The other talks to execution. And what it turns out is that founders who are asked mostly promotion questions raise 7.21 times more funding than those asked mainly prevention questions. 7 times, right? Problem is, women get asked prevention questions about 2/3 of the time, and men get asked promotion questions about 2/3 of the time. Right, that's a really, really sad number, right? We're getting into why. The good thing is that, you know, if you get promotion preventions, when investors ask, why do you allocate a lot of funds? They say, well, it has good target market, good ideas, I think it has potential for growth. That's why you give a lot of money. And you say, why didn't you give money to that? Say, well, it didn't seem visionary, right? Not necessarily the best way to assess a startup. But if you change the answers, you change the game. What it turns out is that we can't necessarily control the kind of questions we get as founders, but we can control the answers we give. Anyone ever hear a politician speak? Right? Did they ever answer a question? No. They say, I'm so glad you asked that question. Now let me talk to you about something fun. Basically, we can do something similar here. We can take a prevention question and we can give a promotion answer. And by doing that, we basically eliminate the funding difference. Right? That's huge. What that means is it puts us in control as founders. And for female founders who are likely to get more prevention questions, it gives them a way to actually still win. Right? That's what this is about. So what are we doing about this? Well, we're trying to teach all investors about their biases. We all have biases. I'm biased, you're biased, we're all biased. That's one thing we probably have in common. And they should measure their performance and use practical tools like checklists. And I know we don't like that, but it never hurts to be well prepared when you go into a pitch, also on the investor side. And if you're an entrepreneur, you need to learn about these biases, because these biases can hold you from getting funding, right? And if you learn about these biases, you can overcome them and you can still win, even if you're getting terrible questions. Here are some examples, right? Prevention question, promotion. How do you want to acquire customers versus what is your attrition rate? What is your onboarding process versus what are people coming back? And I know these sound like, well, that's a fair question to ask of a startup, isn't it? It might be. But these are actually prevention questions, and you can sort of feel in the room that if I ask you, how many daily and monthly active users do you have? It's not like a very yay question where it says, you know, who's your ideal customer? Now we're talking about my ideal customer is the housewife who's sitting at home late at night shopping. That's my target audience. You can relate, you can feel yourself getting up. Same thing we talk about market. You know, how big it is? Can you serve customers in other countries? You get to talk about your hopes and dreams of growth. Versus, you know, how are you going to protect your market share? And you say, well, we have superior customer service, or our website is really fast, or whatever it might be. None of those things generate excitement. And these are true all the way through, from projections, strategy, what does success look like? What are your biggest threats? I don't know, a comet slamming into Earth, right? There are many, many different threats. They're not important for your ability to execute. So, and then finally this one. This is one of my pet peeves, is just team. I have heard some female founders get asked some awful questions, right? I was sitting in a panel, and one of the other people on that panel was asking these 2 young women. One of them was about to graduate with a master's of engineering. The other one was starting into engineering. And the panelist asked, well, do you have anyone with any technical know-how in your team? right? It's like, yeah, you got two engineers sitting right there. But the assumption was two young women, blonde. It was like, there's no technical skill there, right? So you get questions like, why are you guys good? Why are you guys the best people to solve this problem? Who can code? Anyone get something like that? Or why did you become the CEO? Right? Was there no one else available? Anyone heard that one? I have. And the other one is like, so what kind of experience do you have? How can we grow? And the great thing here is that it can be really demotivating, but we can learn methods of coming back from these. And that's what we're going to do today. For instance, who can code? The answer to that is everyone who needs to. The important thing for us to succeed, I'm so happy you asked about team. We have a team here who's really good at executing and perfectly aligned with our vision. It doesn't matter who can code. What matters is that the team can succeed. Right? The same thing about IP. If an investor doesn't know what to ask about, they're just going to say, well, can I get a patent? And that's not necessarily valuable because you probably can't protect that patent as a startup. You can't fund the lawyers. So what matters here really is you get into a point where you're saying, what's your IP strategy? Focus, right? Why isn't anyone else doing this? Focus. That's our rule. So we're going to leave that up here. I know they're going to probably distribute these slides so you can get these. That's why there's a lot of text. What's most important here is just to understand that there's a lot of science on this. There's a lot of things you can go read. There are TED Talks you can go watch, and you can learn more about these concepts. For us, the best way of doing this is really looking into seeing it in action, right? And that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to invite up a panel. Today I've asked Stine Kruse, who's the head of startup support at DTU Skylab, to come up. Welcome, Stine. And write down again. We have Mikkel Preisler, who is a VC investor over at ID4, one of the funds that are indeed actively looking for female founders. So if you're at a B2B SaaS, hit this guy up. And then we have Christian Dalsgaard Nielsen, also innovation partner at DTU. And I know what you're all thinking is like, innovation partners? I thought we were only talking investors. Like, so many startups face these biases before they're even out of the egg, right? Before they're even hatched. Every person sitting on a panel assessing whether you get to be part of the accelerator, whether you get the POC grant, whether you get the funding for doing your startup project, it's the same biases, right? So we really want to try to highlight this, and the best way to do that is look at some real-life startups. I'm super excited to welcome to the stage Maria from the startup Frod. We're going to do this section in Danish, so if you are unsure about your Danish, you'll have to wait for the live stream of this. I'm sure there's someone will do captioning with AI. It's very practical. Maria, velkommen til scenen.
Tak. Hej, mit navn er Maria. Og jeg kommer fra Frod. Frod er en månedlig abonnementsboks med snacks fra hele verden. For vi er nemlig i jagten på verdens bedste snacks. Vores boks koster 199 kroner om måneden, og så er vi samtidig også et spil. De problemer, vi har opdaget, det er, at det er vildt udfordrende for forældre hele tiden at skulle finde på aktiviteter til deres børn. Hele familien skal jo gerne ville være med, så det er vildt svært at finde noget, hvor både det er sjovt for børnene, men også for bedstemor. Det her, det er Louises familie. Louise er mega udfordret på, at hendes søn ikke gider at lave sine egne lektier. Så det hun har gjort, det var, at hun købte en Frodboks som et incentiv til, at hun kunne få ham til at lave sine lektier. Ikke nok med, at det lykkedes ham at få lavet sine lektier, som mor er en glad mor, så hun, at det her havde en tendens til, at han med de efterfølgende bokse samlede familien omkring det her spil her, og det endte med, at de alle sammen sad og spillede sammen. Så i stedet for, at det er mor, der skal finde på et eller andet, der er interessant for hele familien, så er det lige pludselig sønnen, der giver sig til at arrangere de her familiearrangementer. Vi er en snackbox med 12-14 forskellige snacks fra hele verden. Vi har Snackbook, fordi nu er vi jo i jagten på verdens bedste snacks. Det betyder, at vi også skal vurdere de her snacks for at finde ud af, er de så med i jagten. De her snacks her har tit rigtig mange sjove kulturelle baggrundshistorier. Det vil sige, at vi forsøger også at fortælle de her historier her, så man ved, hvad er det, man sidder med i hånden, når man åbner den her boks. Der er samtidig et spil til. Det bygger primært på udfordringer. Det vil sige, at for eksempel har vi en udfordring, der hedder tag en snack fra boksen, kombinere det med en sovs fra køleskabet, og det kan give nogle rigtig sjove kombinationer, der er vanvittigt grænseoverskridende. Teamet, der står bag det her team, den her virksomhed, det er blandt andet mig. Mit navn er som sagt Maria. Det er mig, der står for indkøbet. Jeg er produktansvarlig. Det er mig, der har kendskab til trendsene, der er på markedet lige pt. Så det er mig, der bygger boksen hver måned. Det er min spidskompetence. Og til resten af tingene, der har jeg nogle mega dejlige gutter. Jeg har blandt andet Tristan. Tristan, han er markedsføringsøkonom. Han står for markedsføring i virksomheden. Han er vildt dygtig til at skabe vores kunder. Så har vi Bjarke. Bjarke, han er direktør. Han er uddannet datamatiker, så han sørger for, at vi har en lækker hjemmeside. Men samtidig så er det også ham, der sørger for økonomien. På nuværende tidspunkt har vi 250 abonnenter. I løbet af de sidste 4 måneder har vi haft en vækst på 150%. Lige nu så har vi en fortjeneste på 59 kroner per boks. Det er et fint sted at stå lige nu, men det bliver endnu bedre lige om lidt. Fordi vi har lige vundet noget, der hedder Novi-legatet, der er på 250.000 kroner til at hjælpe vores virksomhed frem. Vi er de første fra UCN, der er blevet tildelt det her legat i Nordjylland. Så det kommer til at hjælpe os med at rykke os frem til, at vi har en fortjeneste på 80 kroner på boksen lige pludselig. For nu kan vi begynde at investere i emballage og mere vækst. Der, hvor den her virksomhed bliver rigtig interessant, det er, når vi har en fortjeneste på 92 kroner. Så begynder vi at kunne argumentere for, at det her det er en sådan seriøs, økonomisk bæredygtig virksomhed. Så der vil vi gerne hen. Og for at vi skal derhen, skal vi have ca. 2.000 abonnenter. For at vi kan komme derhen, kommer vi til at skulle bruge noget økonomisk hjælp. Og det er ca. 2 millioner kroner, vi kommer til at skulle bruge for at kunne trække os derhen og kunne åbne op til Skandinavien for fremadrettet og være en fed virksomhed. Det er cirka i august måned 2024, vi forventer at være klar til at tage imod den investering. Jeg har taget nogle tal med. Det her er ikke noget, jeg vil gå super meget ind i. Det er som sagt ikke min spidskompetence. Jeg skal forsøge at svare på det så godt jeg kan, hvis I stiller spørgsmålene. Men det, som det her egentlig viser, er, at vi er en forholdsvis fornuftig abonnementsvirksomhed. Der ligner, at vi har nogle rigtig fine muligheder, som det ser ud allerede nu. Den udfordring, vi står på nuværende tidspunkt, er, at i oktober, november og december måned, der rammer vi et tidspunkt, hvor folk tænker julegaver. Det vil sige, at folk køber ikke så meget produktet selv, og tænker ikke nødvendigvis så meget på, at det er familien, der skal have, men mere venner og dem, man skal købe julegaver til. Så hvordan kan vi så begynde at tænke det her jul mere ind i vores koncept? Jeg er konstant i kontakt med mine kunder. Jeg har 70 af vores kunder på en Discord-gruppe, og ikke nok det, så ringer jeg også ud til mine kunder hver evig eneste måned, for at sikre mig, at jeg bygger mit produkt efter, hvad er interessant for vores kunder. Med hjælp af dem, så er jeg blevet klogere på, at der var efterspørgsel på en julekalender. Så jeg gik på min Discord-gruppe, testede interessen, og inden for 10 minutter havde jeg mine første 6 betalte forudbestillinger. Jeg tænkte, kan jeg tage det her med ud på mine mails? Så jeg skitserede en hurtig mail for hurtigt at tjekke interessen, og jeg havde inden for 3 dage 37 betalende forudbestillinger på min julekalender til en værdi af 400 kroner. Så vi kan se, at der er noget med at forbinde os med jul. Så spørgsmålet er, hvordan åbner vi det her op? Så det er de nye spændende ting, der kommer til at ske. Jeg håber, at I vil med på Frodrejsen. Tak.
Perfekt, Maria, og velkommen til. Jeg er sindssygt spændt på jer panel. Må vi høre, hvad har I af spørgsmål til Maria og Frod? Vil du starte, Chris?
Det kan jeg godt. Tusind tak for et godt pitch. Du kom godt rundt. Den typiske familie, nu har I 250 kunder, den typiske familie, som køber det her, hvordan ser den ud?
Jamen, det er lidt forskelligt. Der er nogen, der er enlige mødre, der køber det her, så de har en måde at bonde med deres enten søn eller datter. Vi har også flere, der har flere børn. Der er faktisk ikke sådan nogen speciel sådan mængde, men de er imellem 6 og 13 år cirka, børnene, der er her til. Ja.
Perfekt. Nu gør jeg simpelthen lige noget flabet. Jeg afbryder de kære mennesker. Lad os lige prøve at tage et kig på det her. Christian stiller et spørgsmål om markedet. Han stiller faktisk et spørgsmål, som at sige, hvordan ser din typiske kunde ud? Dejlig promotion spørgsmål. Og du kommer ind og siger sådan, at den der bold, den tager vi. Og du svarer sådan set ganske fint. Det kan være alle mulige typer af familier. Men det man altid kan sige her, det er at sige, men kan vi få mere ud af det her spørgsmål, når vi får det? Og et godt eksempel, selvom man får et promotion spørgsmål, der kan virkelig sparke den der bold ind ved at sige, Hvor er jeg glad for, at du spørger til den typiske kunde. Det er familier af alle slags, der gør det, og det gør, at der faktisk er måske 1 million familier i Danmark, var i scope for det her, og vi regner med, at det er sådan her, vi er ude. Fordi det var et spørgsmål om marked, og så kan vi simpelthen tage det, og så kan vi brede det endnu bredere ud. Men et godt eksempel på et promotion-spørgsmål, der var ikke noget der at sige sådan, kan folk overhovedet lide snacks, de ikke er vant til, fordi jeg køber altid Pringles. Ikke? Altså, det ville være det andet type spørgsmål, man kunne have fået der. Men i stedet for her får vi et godt promotion-spørgsmål. Der var ingen, der blev deprimeret af det her spørgsmål. Du svarer glimrende, og vi kan altid hive lidt mere ud af det, men det var det. Skide godt. Næste spørgsmål, hvem har? Er det dig, Mikkel?
Det kan det godt være. Først fedt, at du er så tæt kontakt med dine kunder. Det glemmer nogle startups lidt i starten, og være så tæt ved dem. Et spørgsmål til hvilken type investor du leder efter?
Jamen, det er primært en aktiv investor, vi er interesseret i. Vi kunne virkelig godt bruge en, der har noget erfaring inden for distribution, fordi det kommer virkelig til at være noget, vi skal lære en masse om.
Mm-hmm. Og har I investorer allerede?
Nej, det har vi ikke.
Jeg ved ikke.
Fantastisk. Altså, det er jo en drøm, det her, at få sådan en panel, som generelt er optimistisk og interesseret. Sige sådan, hvad for en type investor leder du efter? Hvem er et godt fit for dig? Det er faktisk nærmest mere et neutralt spørgsmål, noget andet at sige, men hvad for en type investor? Dejligt. Det lyder som om, kunne det være mig? Ikke? Det er lidt den der sådan lidt, den klassiske, når vi alle sammen ringer op til et jobopslag. Til spændende opslag, kan du fortælle mig lidt om den profil, I kigger efter? Ikke? Så jeg synes, det er et super godt spørgsmål, og du giver et rigtig fint svar at sige sådan lidt, det er en, og vi vil have det her, du ved, hvad du vil have, jeg vil have de her type kompetencer. Og igen, der kan man jo sige sådan, jamen vi skal bruge 2 millioner nu, og det her det er en rejse, og det er en rejse, der er set før med den her type ting, så vi ved, at vi kommer til at gå igennem forskellige runder, fordi vi skal skalere helt op til højre. Så der kan man også lige tige bolden lidt mere op og sige, en som kan vores marked, og som har dybe lommer, som vi kan være med til at tage os igennem de næste 4 runder investering. Så skide godt. Hvad siger du, Stine?
Tør jeg?
Ja, det tør du.
Jeg så, du havde et rigtig stærkt team, og I havde flere folk faktisk med markedsføringskompetencer, og jeg tænker jo, når jeg sidder og siger, det I virkelig skal gøre, det er, at I skal ud og have fat i alle de her mange familier. Og jeg kunne godt tænke mig at høre lidt mere om jeres plan for at komme ud og få fat i de kunder, som er de her familier med børn mellem 6 og 13 år, som du beskriver.
Jamen, det vi gør på nuværende tidspunkt, det er, at vi kører rigtig mange Facebook-annonceringer. Vi har netop nu lige indgået et samarbejde med en Twitch-streamer, der hedder Awesome Mommy, som sidder og er meget ansvarlig for meget af det sådan, inden for sådan Fortnite-communityet, der er omkring unge børn. Så det handler både om at prøve at ramme børnene, men også ramme ind i, hvordan er det, vi løser det her problem for forældre, og gør det rigtig nemt for dem at finde noget, der er underholdende for hele familien.
Ja, fint spørgsmål. Customer acquisition. Hvordan har du tænkt dig at ramme dine kunder? Glemmer det igen. Det handler om, hvordan får vi nye kunder ind her. Så sådan en del af vores street er, at vi rammer med streamere, vi arbejder med influencer marketing. Skide godt. Så lad mig lige stille et andet spørgsmål. Er der ikke 100 andre virksomheder, der laver det her?
Overhovedet ikke. Vi er de eneste i Danmark, der laver det her.
Laver snackkasser?
Ja, der laver snackkasser lige nu. Der var tidligere nogen,
Okay.
men ikke længere.
Ikke længere? Okay. Hvorfor tror du kan lykkes, når de ikke kunne?
Altså nu var jeg jo selv abonnent på deres boks, og nu er det ikke for at sådan, stå og sige en masse skidt om det, men det fastholdt i hvert fald ikke min interesse. Og det er meget af de samme ting, der gik igen i den boks. Og du ved, det her med at holde på interessen og hele tiden overraske med de her forskellige snacks, der er i, erfarer jeg i hvert fald også, når jeg snakker med mine kunder, at det er et meget vigtigt aspekt.
Ja. Se, det her, det var et rigtig godt eksempel, rigtig røvhul, ikke? Som sidder og siger, nu stiller vi et ordentligt prevention-spørgsmål, ikke? Er der ikke 100 andre, der laver det her? Klart, godt promotion-svar at sige, nej, vi er de eneste. Det er ikke så tit, man har den luksus at sige, vi er de eneste, og alle investorer bliver altid lidt sådan, må ikke der er en konkurrent gemt et sted. Men godt skarpt svar. Prøv at følge det op med at sige, hvorfor skulle du kunne lykkes, hvis de ikke kunne lykkes? De har sikkert også haft funding og gode idéer osv. Og det har du et rigtig godt svar på. Så det der med at sige, super godt eksempel. Prevention spørgsmål. Jeg prøver at trække energien ud af rummet, du godt mærke, det bliver en lang aften. Og du står der også og siger sådan lidt, vi adresserer sådan her, det gør vi. Og så kan man sige netop at sige, det var de her konkrete ting, og hvis du vil løfte den endnu længere op, så vil sige, det er et så stort og accelererende marked. Der er også noget timing i det. Vi tror, vi rammer det rigtige. Vi tror, de er rigtige til at eksekvere på det. Jeg synes, det er fantastisk. Er der nogen, der har et par spørgsmål mere? Mikkel? Og så tager jeg Stine med.
Om jeg kunne godt komme med et sådan lidt mere...
Ja, må jeg høre et
business-spørgsmål. Nu kalder vi det her en snackbox, og så tænker jeg, at der er jo også nogle familier, som synes, at det her med, at man skal snakke mellem måltiderne, og især i den her aldersgruppe, hvor de begynder at spise usundt og sådan noget, at det kunne være sådan et, jeg skal da ikke købe en snackbox til mit barn, altså det er da helt i skoven. Hvordan, altså, er det noget, I møder, og hvordan imødegår I det?
Ja, det er noget, vi møder. Men vi ser os ikke så meget som bare snakken. Vi ser det som en mulighed for at kunne sidde og have en hyggelig familiær oplevelse sammen. Så det her, det er måske mere en måde at være social omkring sin snackspisning. Så i stedet for, at man tømmer en pose Haribo Matador Mix, imens man ser et eller andet på tv'et, så kan man i stedet for sætte sig sammen, hygge sig med en boks og have en fed oplevelse i stedet for. Så ja.
Men I kalder alligevel, altså det hedder alligevel en snackbox, altså sådan jeres produkt.
Ja, det er det også.
Altså, klassisk, er det overhovedet etisk, det du render og laver spørgsmål, ikke? Super godt prevention spørgsmål. Igen, ret stærkt svar, ikke? Altså, du prøver sådan lidt, ja, det er en snack, og vi prøver, og så videre. Og man kan næsten mærke, at du starter dernede med at sige, man prøver at give et svar på tiltale, og det er svært at grave ud af det hul. Så får du den igen vendt og sige, nu kører vi op og siger sådan, at det er faktisk det her. Hvor jeg er glad for, at du spørger om, hvordan familier har det med det. For familier mangler noget at hygge sig om. Familier mangler noget, de kan samles om. Familier mangler noget at snakke om, som ikke bare er Minecraft. Skide godt vendt. Klassisk promotion spørgsmål på prevention svar. Jeg vil også sige, helt anderledes. Du blev lige 20 cm højere fra starten af det spørgsmål til slutningen. Og det er også den følelse, man står tilbage med. Sidste spørgsmål til dig, Mikkel.
Yes, som VC-investor, så kan jeg jo godt lide massiv vækst. Så de her 150% vækst, som I har oplevet, hvad tilskriver du det?
Jamen, vi er skiftet fra, nemlig at være meget med fokus på at være en snackbox, til at vi fandt ud af i udviklingen af det her spil her, at det var enormt interessant for familier. Så det er egentlig fordi, vi har lavet pivot i målgruppe, og nu er et familiespil frem for et snackbox.
Fedt. Igen sådan et spørgsmål at sige, det jeg lidt hørt Mikkel sige, det var, ja, det er meget flot at lave det en måned, vi alle sammen har haft en god måned, jeg har også været pæn en gang. What have you done for me lately? Ikke? Det er sådan en helt klassisk ting at sige sådan lidt, hvad ligger der egentlig i det? Og igen så siger man, det var den der pivot, det tilskriver vi. Hvis du vil have den endnu mere på, hvis du lige har sådan et nyere tal, lidt, og, sådan, og vi synes trenden fortsætter, og det vi kan se med vores julegave, det er faktisk det samme med den der julekalender, det er bundet ind med det, hvis det er det selvfølgelig. Men ellers er det det. Jeg tror, at Monique, det godt kan blive til et møde senere med nogle af dem her. Vi vil i hvert fald sige tusind tak til Maria fra Frod.
Selv tak.
All right, now welcome to the stage, our next startup, Rotoy, with Fredana. Please give her a warm round of applause.
Hi, everyone.
Bring your
I can hear myself. It's good. Too many things in my hand, but I will... Hi, I'm Vedrana, co-founder and CEO of Rotoy. This is this little thing. It's a coding robot toy, and with this toy, you will be able to get your children excited about tech. I will leave it here. I think that's the best place, so I can use my hand here. So, we at Rotoy believe that the best way to teach something is by telling a story. So I will tell you a very short one. When I was a little girl, despite my interest in technology, I always played with dolls. I thought robots are for boys. That's something that I was interested in. And when I grew up, I realized that a lot of more girls thought the same. And now we are having less than 25% of STEM graduate girls. And besides that, we are missing around 19,000 STEM specialists just in Denmark. I also realized that parents are 8 times more likely to think of an engineer as a man than as a woman, and they're 3 times more likely to encourage their sons to play with Lego. I was simply in shock. Then I met Chris, a guy who knows a lot about robots, and we had an idea. What if we combine coding, robots, and storytelling? We thought, okay, let's explore this idea. We looked into research and realized that if we combine storytelling and robotics, we get 47% of high comprehension rate. That sounds really good. So we came with the concept of combining a physical robot toy and storytelling. So we essentially teach kids how to code through storytelling. What does it happen? Okay, what does it contain? So this is the package where you get your physical robot toy. And on your platform, you have a user dashboard, a parent dashboard as well, stories and missions, and we teach you step by step how to build your codes and then play with the robot. So if you get a Rotoy tomorrow, as I said, you will get a physical Robotoy and access to our website. Over there, you will be able to choose a landscape of stories that we are creating. Each story will tell you what you will learn then. You will have a character following on your adventure, and then you will get tutorials on how to build your codes. If you get it right, you will get a star. This is a toy for kids from age 9 plus, and it's for home use. And we are building a special content for girls to make sure that we have more female entrepreneurs on this stage in the future. So market potential, so we are seeing that there is around 5 billion Danish krona in the toy market, and parents are ready to pay around 100 euros per toy. In the competitive landscape, what is the most important is that we have determined some gaps. So we are seeing that there is a lack of real-world applications and cross-disciplinary learning, and we are building stories with real-life scenarios. For example, how to find north. There is inadequate emphasis on collaborative learning. You can use this toy with your sibling or with your friend or in a classroom. There is a lack of personalization. We are creating a new robot design where you can choose your own robot interface design. And there is lack of progress tracking. And we are creating platform for parents. That means that parents will be able to track the progress of their children. Okay, thank you. So what we're doing better and what we are trying to do better than our competitors is be really good at the customer-centric approach. So we are getting and collecting the data that we are feeding to an AI system and creating a personalized learning experience. We have an experienced teacher in our team with a 10 plus experience in teaching how to code. And we are adding gamification into our system. We are selling this to retailers and distributors who are then selling it directly to consumers. And our stories are built into a subscription model. That means that every month you will be able to get new stories and new missions. Okay, I might not have time to elaborate on this, but basically our go-to-market is to create a distribution and dual distribution across the Europe. So some numbers on the business from last year. We have sold 75 of MVPs. So that's the MVP is the product that we have developed last year. It was on the price of 140 Danish krone. Our costs are obviously pretty high because we are building in-house and everything is low unit. And it was 420, and our customer acquisition cost was 171. The team, me, I'm the one who knows how to sell, or I think I do. We have Chris, he's the guy who knows all about the robots. We have Octavia, she's great UXer, and Alex, who is our content developer. And what I'm looking out today is to get some advisors, someone from within toy industry or who has experience with toy retailers. We will be raising 3 million Danish krone in June next year, and I'm very open for your feedback and questions. Thank you so much, guys.
Great, thank you. Great pitch. You hang on to that.
I have
need
this.
that. Awesome. So, robot toys, right? Who's got 3 million for robot toys? What do we got? What do we think? Is everything clear? You ready to invest? No, maybe you've got a question.
My father had a toy shop, a neighborhood toy shop, so it's close to heart. I'd like to say I see the potential. I know of parents who've looked for this and used the toys to get their kids into gaming. So I'll dig into a more specific question on the funding. So you say 3 million in June of 24. So my question is twofold. Where do you expect to be in June 24 when you get the 3 million? And what will the 3 million be put to use for, or where will the 3 million take you?
Thank you for that question. So by June 2024, we're expecting to have a done commercial product and already be in partnerships with a retailer in Denmark and exploring possibilities to expand outside of Denmark. We will use 3 million Danish krona to onboard the full team to work full time. And then for that, or that will speed up the process to make sure that the partnership with retailers will come in place in the next year.
All right. Perfect. Okay. So that is a good question. You know, what are you going to do with
That's
my
a
money?
Great question.
Right? Is that a prevention question? Is that a promotion question? What are you spending my money on? It really depends on how their arms are held, right? I think what you do is a bit of neutral question, but you give a great answer, right? Your answer is, thank you for that. Let me talk about my plan. My plan is full production. My plan is internationalization. My plan is partnerships. My plan is team onboarding to make sure we have the right people. And the only thing you can really do to even give an even stronger answer is say, well, we hope to have those 3 million, and they're going to take us from here to there, because that's where you're hoping to be. And say, by doing that, we'll grow our sales to even more. So get it back into financial questions. Always good to get sort of a financial number on that. Say, your 3 million investment beyond paying our salary is going to get us to 3 million in sales. So, but one of those questions you're likely to get, but you're only going to get them if they're actually interested. So I think that's great, and you gave a really good answer. All right, next question.
Thank you.
Question.
Thank you very much. I look forward to buy it to my daughter.
Oh, amazing.
But when I'm going to buy it, why wouldn't I buy a similar Lego thing?
All right, thank you for that question. So what we are doing that is different than Lego is the content and the story aspect. That means that if you buy this toy and you give it to your daughter, she will be supported with our universe of stories, and she will be guided from each step, from building the foundations to actually building the final code. And we believe that what we are doing with that will actually help children to be relaxed, to create relationships, and then stay on our platform.
Awesome. Okay, so classic prevention question. Why wouldn't I just go with the established brand? You know, Legos, I played with Legos. People in the Stone Age played with Legos. Lego should be good enough for my daughters. And you did the perfect thing. You mentioned Lego exactly once, right? Never talk about your competitors. They've got enough of a marketing budget. So what you did here was just say, I'm going to talk about stories. I'm going to talk about unique selling points for my product, which are, you know, I'm so glad you asked about what value your daughter is going to get out of this. She's going to get the stories, the universe, everything. It was an absolutely case study, perfect promotion answer to a prevention question. So great job. That's perfect. Stina, you got a question?
Yep. So for going to market, as I see it, you have like a twofold kind of strategy. So you need your end customer, the families and the children, to be kind of attached to your product. So one question is, how do you go to your end user, your final customer? But you also need to go through the retailers and the distributors. And I mean, they can pose another challenge because they will be your threshold to market to actually sell to those customers who might be interested in your product. And how do you go about that? Because it's not, in my opinion, you know, it's like kind of the same work but on two channels.
Again, thank you for that question. What we are doing right now are local activities where we are creating Rotoy coding classes and inviting local children to participate and get familiar with the product. As you know, this product is not ready to be sold yet. Therefore, we want to create a talk about it. With the results from these coding classes, I have something tangible to use and come to retailers and say, this was the results, this is what the kids in Odense right now are talking about. And therefore, every startup every startup or product someone needed to buy first. Therefore, I'm planning and preparing all the tangible details and information that I can argue why they should start with us. And retailers have different products, and they're looking for fresh products on the market that might attract other consumers as well. But essentially, the detailed plan or the plan is, as I said, a local coding class, get some feedback, get some traction, and then work with that to go to the middleman. Yes, thank you.
All right. So what happened here was we got a prevention question and we got a mostly prevention answer. and all of y'all are looking sad right now, right? And you feel that energy, that's what prevention does, right? Now we're sitting, it's like, oh, that was very detailed, or was it long? It was a good answer. You answered, very specifically, like, this is our plan, this is what we're gonna do. But ultimately, when you get a prevention question, if you're tricked into giving a prevention answer, we're all gonna sit here and be a little bit like, okay, well, I guess that was that. Because you have a great story. And so you actually started out right with just saying, how are we going to get this to the hands? Well, this is our storytelling for children, because parents don't dream up buying stuff for their kids. At least my kids are fairly insistent on what they wish for, right? And you have that answer. And I think you also had a good story in there. It's like, why would a retailer carry yours? And again, you come back to the story, because they're storytellers, they're Imagineers, they're people who try to tell a story and engage children in play, right? And that's what they're trying to do. And so you get a question like that. I'm so happy you ask about go-to-market. Kids love playing with this, and kids can't be quiet about it. As you said, the children are super excited. This is what the kids of Odense are talking about. And Odense is the city of fairy tales, right? This is the city of stories. And so that's what we're carrying in. I'm so glad you asked about that. And retailers will see that vision, because they have to talk about something new, right? They're looking for that story to tell. And so we really got to be like, okay, that was a prevention question. How do I make sure to talk about story and expand? So that was a really good example. Thank you. Yeah, you got another one, Stine, you got to follow up?
No, I was just going to ask you then, how should I ask that question if I want her to address that in a more promotion way?
Well, I think that you have a genuine concern. They say, like, I'm concerned about distribution, and you can ask us that, can you tell me about your go-to-market? Can you tell me about how you're getting this in the hands of consumers? So, because you definitely identified some of the problems, but from being a founder and working with founders, so have they. They've seen all of these. They've been asked this 50 different times. So they've seen all the problems we've seen. So it's really about saying, I want to understand your go-to-market, because I bet you've seen something I haven't. So that would be the way to turn that question around. Another question? Question?
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where are you going with this?
So I see Rotoy in Europe. I'm seeing Rotoy being played in every household in Europe. And I'm also seeing girls, after playing with Rotoy, really being interested in pursuing a STEM career.
All right. Perfect. So great promotion question. Expand 5 years down the line. What are we asking? Also here asking, this is a one product thing, right? How do we go beyond that? And this really is your tee up to say this is the grand vision. Not just people playing with Rotoy everywhere, but the giant universe. So, and actually, I think that's unfortunately where we do have to end. I think this is an amazing thing. I too have 3 daughters.
Can I show you what it can do?
Yeah, can you show me what it can do?
I mean, can you come here?
Yes.
Can you guys see if it's here?
Yep.
Would that work? Okay, you will
Hold this up.
Yeah, you just need to. Yeah, perfect. So essentially, it has a mission already that kids programmed. So if you press this little button here, it will dance for you.
Look at that.
I will end my presentation
All right,
like this.
thank you. Great round of applause. And thank you to the panel for being good sports. I really hope you take away from this that prevention and promotion are real things. They affect our mood. They affect how we perceive a case and how we perceive the world. And if you are an investor, someone asking questions, selecting for panels, please be aware of that. Learn about this. And if you're a startup founder, you have seen 2 great examples of startup founders who can take prevention questions, give promotion answers. There's a lot there to digest. But thank you so much for spending your time here with us today. Thank you to the founders again.